Hello and welcome to Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan,
I'm Ryan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into this week's episode, be sure to check out our Patreon over at patreon.com/Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. If you go over there, you can hear us just like talk and like meander around a little bit. It's so much fun, people. No, you get that, but you get conversations with us. You get trivia over there. It's a lot of good stuff going on, but no main show content is locked behind Patreon. But getting into this week, we are talking about Bonmura. It's another Bonmura week, and we're talking about Quantum of Solace. Yes, I know all of you, ever since we started this, all the way back from Dr. No, you guys were like, when is Quantum coming? When are we doing Quantum? Today's the day, people.
People are like, QOS, QOS.
Yeah, I see you. It's like one of those things. You tell people I just watched Quas, and people are like, oh yeah, I know what that is. Great film.
I mean, okay, we're getting a little ahead, but I'm like, has anyone said Quantum of Solace is their favorite Bond movie?
I don't know. I looked this movie up on YouTube before we started this, and there are a couple videos where people are like, "This is the underrated Bond." Like, so I think I saw one that said the perfect Bond movie, Quantum of Solace. But who knows? That's just clickbait.
Well,
Honest,
yeah, but like, I'm sure there's people that like it. That's not the question. I'm like,
it's their favorite.
somebody that puts this Bond movie as their number one.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't imagine. I mean, there's at least one person. I always say it.
I,
We always say it here. Every movie is somebody's favorite movie, but like, I don't know.
well, there's another disclaimer too. They have to have seen all the Bond movies. They can't be like,
Uh,
okay, you can't be
okay.
like, oh, I've seen all the Daniel Craigs and this one's my favorite one. That's a bad opinion. Like saying, saying if you have to see every single Bond movie, and then I
Okay.
want to hear you with a straight face
Yeah.
say Quantum of Solace is your favorite one.
Every Bond movie, right? If you have to watch every Bond movie, you're a Bond fan, right? Do you think there's a Bond hater other than like movie critics that like have seen every Bond and they're like, I hate every moment? I feel like any Bond fan couldn't put this as their number one. I just you're right. If you've seen every Bond movie, I just don't think that's possible. That this is the best of the bunch.
I mean, there's plenty of people that hate Marvel movies, but they're like, I see every Marvel movie and I hate every single one.
That
And it's
is
like,
true, yeah.
it's
Because I
so,
have
uh,
to. But it
yeah,
is a little because Marvel's modern and like James Bond's been around for so long. Unless there is like some really old dude that's like,
yeah,
I hate all these movies, but I'm watching
yeah.
them all.
like like your grandpa's or grandpa like watched this movie and just like he's still watching them to this day. It's just like they get worse every year. I hated Doctor No, and they just
but
get worse.
but that Quantum of Solace was the one time I went, damn, this shit was good. I gotta bleep yourself.
Grandpa.
Grandpa. Yeah, he gets a little ornery. He's crazy. Um,
But I no, like, okay, well, let's
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 get
go back
into
it.
it, right?
Yeah,
Or
okay.
yeah, let's go back a little bit. So, Casino Royale came out, and we both loved that movie, and it is a movie that was well received, very well received, considered one of the best Bond movies of all time by many people.
It set the
Um,
tone really well too for
it,
what's coming forward. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Daniel Craig set him up as Bond. And then it was like, okay, we're going to make a direct sequel to this movie, Quantum of Solace. And that's a big deal, right? Because it does leave open ended. Vesper committed suicide, and we have to see where it goes from there. Um, so there's just a lot that kind of went wrong in that process to getting there. So in the middle of writing this movie, I think I don't know how true it is, but supposedly 2 hours before the writer's strike that happened, um, the script was finished. So like the script finished, the writer's strike happened, and that was like the first draft or something, very early draft of the script, and they went through with making the movie. And during making the movie, they actually couldn't have any writers work on the script to help work on it. So this is for real. Like Daniel Craig, the actors, they actually made dialogue for the movie. Um, and
This is
I
making so much sense.
exactly, yeah, and that's why I think it's good to preface that because, God, Quantum of Solace, I always like being like, no, this one's actually good. No, Quantum of Solace is a really bad movie. It is. I think it's a bad movie, pretty through and through. It has signs of a good Bond movie. It just kind of doesn't make any sense. I don't. Were you confused by this movie at all?
I mean, I kind of understood it. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
it's just like I just didn't care that much. It's like,
Yeah.
uh, for one, it's like it's really dull. It's a really
Very
dull
dull.
Bond movie. Like, just there's not that much dynamic happen. And I swear to God, like I don't. I think this is like the worst Bond villain in a movie. Like I
Yeah.
can't I can't think of anybody that is worse. Like even that guy that was like the diamond, like not like that, not the diamond, not the guy in the world is not enough that like never felt pain. It's like
Yeah.
even though he was dull, it's like, and like all the other, like they're like, oh, here's these pudgy elderly middle-aged guys that want to destroy the world. It's like I can at least relate. Like this guy is like, I did not like this Bond villain in the slightest.
No, and it sucks because I like this guy. He's played by the French actor Matthew Almeric, I think is how you say it. And he just like he's not given a good character. They go for realism. It's a realistic Bond villain, but I think like way too far where it's just boring. So he's like an environmentalist, and but that's like fake. So he goes around, he's like, oh, protect the earth and all this. But under that, he's trying to undercut the government of Bolivia to take resources away. People think it's oil, but it's actually water. So it's basically Chinatown. He's taking the water away from them to basically overthrow the government.
Yeah, yeah,
Kind
but
of a
there's
go ahead.
and then but yeah, but then there's that dictator that he's like in cahoots with
Yes,
at the
yeah.
same time, and that like who is also like the Bond girls murdered her parents, right? Or
I did not understand her backstory. I know she doesn't like fire. Uh because she's
no,
boring. The Bond girl. Olga Kurlenko, I think is how you say it. She's the Bond girl in this movie. Maybe one of the worst, maybe not the worst. I won't give her that like the
I don't think
villain.
she's the worst, but she's definitely not very memorable at all.
No. But yeah, he's messing around with the dictator. So this movie is a political plot, and they have this weird mix because he's in with the CIA trying to work out undercutting the government with America, and Jeffrey Wright does return as Felix Leiter, which I'm always happy to see. But David Harbour is the other guy, and this is pre Stranger Things
Oh
too. So
yeah.
this is like character actor David Harbour.
Well, yeah, it's fun. Like if this came out now, he would be so distracting, and like because I was distracted just being like, oh, like David Harbour's in this movie, but
Yeah, yeah, I know your reaction. You saw him, you're like, Hellboy. That's the Hellboy. Oh my
it's yeah.
god.
I was
Um,
like, oh my god, he was from Black Widow.
yeah, the guy from Black Widow. No, yeah, but I think that's a funny casting choice. But yeah, I mean, so this movie opens up with like that big car action chase scene. This movie has a lot of action in it, and I think it's because this is one of the shorter Bonds, if not the shortest. I didn't look that up, but it's only an hour 45 minutes long. And there's like constant action. It opens up with a car chase scene because I want to say it literally takes place directly after Casino Royale. So they have that ending where he shoots what's his name, Mr. White, um at the end of Casino Royale.
Oh, yeah, like when he takes the guy's wallet and everything.
Yeah. That's the guy who's in the back of his trunk at the end of that
Oh,
action
that's right.
sequence.
Yeah, okay.
So
Right,
it's
right, right.
literally he shoots him and takes him into Italy. Um, which did you? I don't know. Were you annoyed by this? The titles for each country was written in different fonts, and like none of them looked good. For me, they
No,
blended into the background. That might be
no,
nitpicky.
no, I did not notice that. I'm not a big typography fan.
Yeah, I care about my movie typography, okay, Ryan? That's important to me. But with that we get our opening title sequence with it's just like sand, it's very CG. It's really not as good as Casino Royale's opening sequence. Very boring.
I didn't even like the song to it. Like,
Okay, that song I during the podcast where I ranked all the Bond songs, this was my lowest. I can't stand this song. I think
it's bad.
it's really bad. It's Jack White and Alicia Keys, which is like the weirdest combo you could think of. And it's just like, it doesn't feel like a Bond song, doesn't have that power. And like, even if it was just a normal song, it's just very boring, doesn't sound good. It's just a really bad choice.
It's really bad. I like. Yeah, this. If you ask me right now, this would be my lowest one
Which is
because
crazy because the Madonna one is like on another level.
Madonna one's really bad. The Lulu one's just kind of like
Mm,
uninteresting or whatever,
yeah.
but it still at least like feels like a Bond song. But
Yes.
this one is just like I was just like this is not working on any like even as a song I don't like this.
No, no. I don't. I just doesn't work. I'd love to see what was cut from for this movie for the theme.
Well, yeah, they usually do have like other songs that were you like that were like they're like okay we can have use this song or this song like
Hmm.
they've done that before like I know Johnny Cash like wrote his own version of what Thunderball would be
Hmm.
but so I would be interested to know if there was like a backup song to this one because
That was probably better.
maybe because I know there was one I was listening to for Goldeneye where it was Ace of Base did like a Goldeneye
Hmm.
one and it actually sounded pretty decent. Not as good as the Tina Turner one, but
But still, like, pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think we get that even further on because I think Spectre had multiple songs, but I guess they did pick the right song for that one because it won an Oscar. But that's getting ahead of
That's a
ourselves.
different time, yeah.
Yeah.
The
But
writing
yeah.
will be on the wall that episode, I tell you that.
Uh-huh. Hey, we might love it. Who knows? But continuing on with this movie, Bond is kind of back at it again. It almost feels like he didn't learn his lesson from the last movie. Did you notice this? He just killed people the whole movie. Like it was just like, oh, we got a lead, and he
I,
shoots them
th-
the
that
whole
was like the
movie.
one that was like my biggest complaint of this whole movie was just
Yeah.
like the whole first movie was he's just killing people to kill people. It's not
Hmm.
and like even in the first movie, they're like, "What the hell? Like, why are you killing all
Hmm.
these people in broad daylight in front of like
Hmm.
And this one, it's just like it just shoots people like, oh, like yeah, like doesn't matter if they're relevant to the mission or not. Just like
Exactly. Well, and he kills like the people that are relevant, right? Like the few people that are actually relevant to the plot of the movie. And it's so weird. It feels like the MI6 has just hired like a sociopath serial killer. And I know that's like kind of the point. It's like, oh, this is who would have to take on this role, but it just ends up making it feel like we're following a really stupid character. And I hate to say that because one of the best parts of this movie is still Daniel Craig. I do think Daniel Craig is still a really good Bond, even if he's kind of in a pretty rough Bond movie. He still makes a very good Bond.
yeah, I he is good as Bond.
Yeah.
I like I said, I remember when I was younger, like not really loving the idea of him as Bond,
Hmm.
but as the years have gone on, like he's definitely earned his place as a Bond, and
Hmm.
he is probably the best part about this movie.
Yes, I agree. I think he is the best part of this movie. Um, God, I have a lot of complaints about this movie because I don't know how you were about it, but I actually just really didn't like this movie at all. It was like I wouldn't say it was one of the worst on the show. Like I said, it has its moments, but I just think overall it's just a very disappointing Bond movie.
When you watch these movies back to back to back, like how we've
Hmm.
been doing it, it's this one kind of sticks out a lot, and
Yeah.
because we've watched some of the Bonds where we're kind of like unenthused by it. Like I think
Yeah.
like For Your Eyes Only or something like that. We were just like,
Hmm.
oh, it was kind of boring, but we didn't hate it.
No.
And like, but this one, I was just like, this is bad. Just,
Yeah, it's like just a bad action movie in a way. Um,
uh, and and two, it was like clearly they were trying to set up something big, like for the
oh
franchise.
yeah, that's because that's what it is. Because Quantum is the criminal ring that runs everything, and the villains are all like, "You don't know what Quantum is, do you?" Like
Yeah,
that's what
well,
it's
we're
all about.
everywhere. You don't even know. Like,
Uh-huh. And and I think that's a downfall of this movie. That's a cool setup, but we actually learn nothing this movie, right? Like
no.
we the movie ends and we have not gotten any step closer since Casino Royale. So what was the point of this movie?
Well, it's very clear what they did. I mean, like even in Skyfall, they pretty much flat out ignore this movie.
Yes, yeah.
And even when like even Inspector, like I think Inspector at least, where they don't they like go through like all the bad guys from like the Daniel Craig movies, like in the montage at the opening, and
Yes, yeah.
I don't even think there was like somebody from Quantum of Solace, or
I
was there?
I want to say that the bad guy, the environmentalist dude, does show up. But who knows? Let's keep that thought and see if it's there whenever we get there.
But
Um,
yeah, the Quantum deal is just like they don't bring up Quantum ever again because they make
no.
a huge deal about like Quantum is watching at all times because that's how the movie begins. Like you said, when he gets captured, Mr. White, and they're interrogating him, and he's just like, Quantum, is it like you don't even know? And it turns out like Judy Dench's bodyguard was part of Quantum, and it goes on a rampage and like betrays everybody.
Yeah, yeah, because I forget what it is. Yeah, everyone's quantum and he shoots, and then she gets shot, but like there really isn't much to that. Yeah, God, you see, so for me, I know you said you got it, and I mean I got it. I know how the movie goes, but there were maybe it was just because I was bored that I just kind of tuned out a lot of details.
I did
Um,
too.
because there's things that could be cool. Like there's the opera house scene where he's like he gets in on the frequency of quantum there, and he kind of dials in and he's like, "Oh, I see you. You might want to get off this channel." And he takes pictures of people as they get up and he IDs them. A cool
Right.
idea, breaks into an action sequence, but I found the action to be kind of hard to follow in this movie. The editing style is a little weird. It reminds me of the Bourne movies a little bit.
Yeah, this I noticed that too because right around this time, like all the Bourne movies, Taken, a lot of those just like these really rapid cuts.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, well, we don't really have to show them doing these stunts. We can just show do a bunch of cuts,
Yeah.
and now make it look like they're doing these actions, but they're really not.
Yeah, which is such a stark contrast because that's a reason we liked Casino Royale was because of the cool stunts. Like there was some great stunt work in that movie, and especially coming from Die Another Day, which was a lot of CG. It's not CG really here, but it's a lot of just quick cut action. Where even at one point, a really early fight scene where they're in like the art room, and Daniel Craig's like latched onto like the thing that's swinging on the roof, and he needs to grab a gun. Both actors, whenever the camera is whipping around and they're blurry, they looked exactly the same to me, and I didn't know who was on what. I didn't know who was dangling, and I didn't know who was on the rafters looking for a gun. It was very poorly done.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, we're getting too into the nitty gritty of this movie. I guess
All right. Well, go ahead and explain the whole plot, please.
yeah, let me get the script out really quickly. Where were we? Page 30. Uh, but, but no, I mean, he meets the Bond girl. They make kind of a connection. They don't have a romance. That's not. They don't have sex or anything. When's the last time that's happened? I mean, he had
that
sex
ha-
in the movie.
well, yeah, but not with her.
No,
And I don't think do they even they don't even hook up at all, do they?
they kiss. They kiss at the end, but they don't do anything else. That's their thing. Isn't romance?
Well,
Because
yeah, yeah, because at the end of the movie, spoilers, like they kind of go their separate ways,
yeah.
and they're just like, all right, guess that's it, and they just leave. Like,
Yeah, exactly. No, God, I'm trying to think about what happens in the middle because
well,
it's
the whole point is that Bond is looking for Vesper's former lover,
yes,
and
yeah.
that's because he has connections to Quantum, and that was like the whole deal with
Hmm.
that. And like he was trying to figure out how she died and like what how she's connected to all this.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, and it's also kind of like, is it personal? I think that's what they're going for. Like him trying to find him, and it's connected to Vesper. There's like some connection there. He meets up with the guy from the first one, um,
Oh
the guy who
yeah,
gets like tased.
the guy, what was his name? Renee Mathis. That's it,
Yeah, that's right,
Mathis.
Renee.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
meet up.
Because I was just like, oh, my favorite Bond character, Renee.
Renee Math. Yeah, so much you had to think about his name for a sec.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I just again, I like it just felt like really cheap bringing him back. It's like, oh well, we have to figure out how we can get him Bond to South America. So let's bring this guy back.
yeah, because doesn't M cut off like his like passport and credit cards because he's just killing people, and then they add that other character named
Fields.
Fields. But do you know what her full name is? They don't make this a joke in the movie. It's only in the credits. Her
Is
full
it?
name is, oh, go ahead.
No, I didn't go.
It's Strawberry Fields. But they don't say it in the movie. She doesn't go, "Oh, my name's Strawberry." Uh,
Well, they because they make it a point because he does at like he says Fields, and
mhm.
he's like, I should probably know your first name. He's like,
Just
just
Fields.
Fields. It's like,
And yeah,
okay, just Fields, and then Strawberry.
Strawberry Field. That would have been funny. They're too funny for this movie, I guess.
Yeah, no humor in this movie.
No. Yeah, he does end up sleeping with her. She's so pointless to this movie though, because she's kind of his handler. Be like, okay, we're gonna get you back to England,
Yeah.
Bond. And of course she doesn't do it because she falls for him.
Oh yeah, and then she ends up dying, and by they're like, okay, well, how can we recreate Goldfinger? And like, instead of gold, let's just slather her
And
in
oil.
motor oil.
So stupid. It's like an homage to Goldfinger. Why?
And it's like they ruined the bed sheets.
I know that now that would have been funny if he's like, no, the sheets. I'm gonna have to pay extra for this. I hope MI6 can pay for this one.
Yeah,
Um,
those Egyptian thread count ain't cheap.
no, they're not. He's sprung for the more expensive hotel because that's like a weird scene where they go to the cheap hotel and he's like, no, 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 we're not staying here. And they go to an expensive hotel. Oh my God, what a movie. In a different Bond, that would be funny. Like imagine Roger Moore doing that. He would have been doing that
That would be
one-liners and
funny.
and silly. It doesn't work here.
That'd be so funny if like you went to like a Roach motel. He's like, I'm not staying here. Like,
Yeah, and then he goes like somewhere expensive. Yeah, that would be
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
I mean, Daniel Craig, he has funny moments, but just not that. He's just not that kind of Bond.
No, and I mean that's my own personal preference. I like the campier Bond
Hmm.
movies,
Hmm.
but this one is just it leans in way too heavy. Like it takes itself so seriously, and
Exactly.
it's just like at the expense of like okay, whatever fun and enjoyment you're getting out of this, it's not going to be here.
No, not at all. And I mean, and honestly, that's just how it felt by the end of it. Like that happens, and I mean, there's some action scenes in between. Him and the Bond girl team up. They end up in the desert together. That's how they find out about the water. She gets a backstory, and then they get to the desert and they find the bad guy. And yeah, now I'm talking about it. This Bond villain is horrible. He does
It's
nothing.
bad.
He's
It's so
so
bad.
boring. I feel like that actor looks like a Bond villain, but he doesn't do anything.
No, and it's just I didn't like for one he's supposed to be like this environmentalist like billionaire,
Hmm.
and even when they get to the final sequence it's like he's putting up a fight with James Bond. I'm like, give me a break. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and he's like kind of
like
like a weakling little dude.
like Bond would kick his ass. Like
Exactly.
that's what should have happened. It should have been like Bond should like either Bond should have been in such a weakened state that this guy could take advantage,
Hmm.
but it wasn't. And he is so pointless. They don't even give him an on-screen death.
Isn't that crazy
Uh,
for a Bond villain? Like the thing we're supposed to be working towards. And God, this movie, like the more we talk about it, the more I realize, yeah, this seems like a movie that was written by like a whole cast of people instead of like hired writers. Like, oh, what if this happened? And this would be cool, wouldn't it?
like imagine like one of the old Bond movies where it was just like, oh, where's Blofeld? Oh, he got
God.
shot. He got shot. He's
Yeah,
dead.
that would be horrible.
like what?
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that no, and that's what it would be like. But at least then I'd be upset because Blofeld's a good, like a fun villain. Here it's like, okay, all right, pointless guy's dead. And I mean,
Yeah.
dead serious. That is like the plot of this movie. Like you said, they part their ways at the end of the movie, and almost nothing is learned. He does find Vesper's old lover, and I think he just walks away, doesn't kill him, right? Like just like leaves him alive. That's like his lesson learned, I guess.
Well, that's like supposed to be Bond's like big character development moment because M's outside and she's like, "Did you kill him?" He's like, "No."
Which is so stupid because
It's
what are you
like
teaching a kid?
yeah, like she just puts up with so much of Bond's crap in this movie, and
Yeah.
like, like killing valuable witnesses or like people that are like, do not kill this man because he has information that we need, and just dies. And then at the end of the movie, it's like, oh, you're able to show a little restraint. Good job. Good for you.
Hmm. God, yeah, no, and like that's just where it goes from there, and then
Yeah.
that's where we're supposed to take things.
Well, and then well, because Bond goes rogue in this one too, like you said,
Yeah,
but it doesn't have the near as amount. Like I remember in License to Kill, it was like such a big moment. They're like, you are America, like you're the most wanted man in the world right now, like pretty much, like
yeah,
yeah,
no, you're right. Yeah, it was
yeah.
a big deal. He had to run, and he was hiding that during that movie.
Because like I think like M was even like I'm giving you a 30 like a minute to like get out of here because I don't want you to like get killed on sight.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
but in this one, it's like yeah, cut off his credit cards and
And his passport, take it away. All right.
yeah, yeah, and then they're like at the end of the movie. She's like, "Are you back? Like, I need you back." And he's like, "I never left."
Yeah,
And then
imagine if this story leaked. This like, oh yeah, there's a rogue agent that's just been killing a whole bunch of people behind the crime syndicate that would have answers. And then MI6 was just like, take away his cards. He can't pay for anything anymore.
yeah,
No, you jail him or take him out of service. What are you doing?
yeah, really, really stupid. Yeah, this movie was not good. I
No,
didn't like
it's a
it.
bad movie. Um,
Yeah.
it's like the first one, like you said, other Bonds have been boring, but this one's the first one that I can legitimately say is just like a bad all around movie.
Well, I mean, Die Another Day is not a good movie, but
God, I forgot to Die Another Day. But yeah,
it's but that one's different. Like that one, it's like it's bad, but it's like so over the top bad where it's
it,
just
it's like there's something about this one taking itself so seriously. And there's like, I mean, I can't really speak for it, but this movie gives off a vibe of like, this is great. Like, we are really making something good here. To Die Another Day is very tongue in cheek. It kind of knows what it is. This just ends up, I don't know, messy. We'll see how I feel a few months from now when we rank all these up. But
yeah, probably so. I mean, yeah, I
by then I've forgotten about it.
it's
Quantum of
definitely very bottom tier. I don't know if it's the worst, but it's definitely it's floating in that area.
It really is. Yeah, don't recommend it. If you're gonna watch a Bond movie, don't make this your only one and your
But this
favorite.
one, I was about to say this one's skippable too. This is not.
Oh yeah, you could seriously.
Like nothing would be lost here. But again, going back to the original point, there's got to be. Do you think there's got to be at least one, right? Like somebody
There
that's
has to be
seen
one Bond fan, but like a
somebody that's
real
seen all of these movies, and they're
Mhm.
like, Quantum of Solace. That's my.
Yeah, but like a real contrarian. It sounds like somebody that just loves having the wrong or opposite opinion would be like, yeah, that one was actually really good, guys.
Yeah, I'm experienced. I've seen every single Bond one. This one just hit all the
Yeah.
right notes.
Uh, but anyway,
Wow.
I do think that wraps it up for today. But Ryan, remind us, what are we covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, we're gonna go back to Gamera. Yes, we're doing Gamera, more Gamera, and
Yes.
that and that one's gonna be Gamera versus Zigra, and that one is for free over on Tubi.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to watch that one. And if you want to email us, you can email us at driveanddoublepodcast@gmail.com. You can also tweet at us at the IDF. You can also check out our Patreon, patreon.com/driveanddoublepodcast. But until next time.
Until next time.